Alright, welcome back to the podcast. Welcome back to Tomboy Official. Still on this topic of sex positivity, positive viewpoints on sexuality. Diving right in. What it's like recording. This is a continuation, basically. Check out the previous episode if you want to hear the very beginning of like the outline of topics. I'm not gonna go over it again. Let me jump right into this one. What it's like recording. About sex positive topics. It's awkward. I mean, you know, I'm doing things like sitting here at the beach recording, and it's a little bit like, oh, I have my windows open. Now, I kept my windows open because it's hot if I shut the windows. And sometimes I'm like, risking comfort physically just for, other types of comfort, just to kind of have my space on stuff when I'm talking about it. Now, it's kind of funny, like, I'm recording at the beach right now. A lot of times I record in my car. That's not uncommon. You guys have been on here for over 2 years now. I've been recording in my car on a pretty regular basis. Just because I get a little space, it gets me outside for like a few seconds, a few minutes, for what that's worth. Some fresh air, some sunshine, some, just if I'm not really gonna be outdoors a lot, but it's like, yeah, it gives me like an hour or so outside, every day, even though I might not be like walking around on the earth all the time or like running or doing anything really productive outdoors. It's a form of getting outdoors, versus sitting in the house. So, I kind of prefer it. But sometimes I'm like worried about family overhearing me, or, strangers overhearing me, people walking right by my car, and I'm just like, oh, like gay, like, or whatever I'm talking about, at the time. Like, a lot of times it's queer content, sometimes it's gender related content, sometimes it's sexuality content, sometimes it's actually about sexual stuff, and then, like, I don't know, like, I don't think I'm doing anything wrong, but at the same time, it kind of feels like I'm doing something, like, not maybe wrong, but I just don't really need people doing double takes, or, wanting to, like, listen in out of nosiness. Like, I do get that vibe a little bit, that people maybe are a little nosy somewhat, especially because it's like, sometimes it's funny, it's like, I have my window open, and I'm like, oh, I'm talking quietly, like, people probably can't really hear me, but then it's like, they come by my car with their pet or whatever, and they're just like lingering, and it's like, okay, I just saw you from like way a distance away walk all the way towards me. You've been walking for quite a few minutes to get all the way to where I'm at, and you just happen to stop like right near my car where I'm talking and the window's open, or something like that. It's like, that to me is kind of like weird. It's like, there's all these other cars they're passing by, and all these other places they could have potentially stopped. And it happens often, like, whenever I'm recording and I'm like, okay, somebody's like standing by my car again, and like, I'm not talking that loud. I'm really not. But it's like, the amount of times that somebody is like talking by my car, or I'm like sitting outside and like somebody's like looking out the door, like, people get like curious like about what I'm recording. And that's why when I was in San Diego living at this other house, I literally would go to the post office parking lot and record from there, because I was like, especially when it was hot out, I was like, I can't really even keep my doors and windows open because, the neighbors can hear me and the housemates can hear me, and I'm recording all these topics that I maybe don't want them knowing about me necessarily. All these details are my thoughts about these topics and things. Like, it's weird. I don't mind posting it for the World Wide Web, I don't mind posting it on the internet. Um, I don't mind friends listening to these types of topics. I don't necessarily want my family listening to it. If it's my siblings, I probably wouldn't really care. They probably wouldn't tell me anyways. But if it's other family members, which I do suspect some of them listen, they're not going to tell me that they do. And, like, it was kind of like, okay, so there was this, I can't remember what it was, but it was, I'm going to keep talking about these same, I fangirl over certain people, and I might get more into that, but, yeah, there's this, some adult entertainers, porn stars. I kind of like watching their interviews and stuff, and so there's this one interview, where I think the question was, do you worry about people finding out what you do for a living, finding out that you work in porn or something. Like, I don't work in porn, I don't think people would really necessarily want to. I don't think I would want to make it necessarily. I mean, the money sounds good, but I just think it, for me, is, give me a minute. Alright, same dude walking from yesterday. For me, it's one of those things where I'm like, I don't really want to work in that industry because it doesn't necessarily fit with my career goals. It might fit with my financial goals, but it doesn't fit with my career goals. And I do worry, like, a couple things. Like, definitely, I wouldn't want, like, even if I had the opportunity, I don't know if I would want other people I know knowing what I do, and then also coming across it. And then I also don't think I would want other people I know. I wouldn't want them knowing what I do, and I also wouldn't want them coming across my content. And I also, like, think about, well, what if I want to change my mind and do another job, but I have this reputation. Like, I'm not saying that, like, my reputation would be, like, worldwide or anything, but if I potentially had, like, a reputation online where somebody was a potential boss and was, like, watching my content or something, that would be a little awkward. I think that would be a little awkward. Even if it's like, yeah, you're doing this for money, and clearly they like your content. But it was kind of funny because, like, in that porn stars interview, they were like, they were like, well, I'm not really worried about people coming across my content because, or family members or parents or whatever, because it's like, first of all, those people aren't gonna, they're not likely gonna be like, hey, so I was like, searching for gay porn and, like, came across your website or whatever. Like, they're probably not gonna tell you that they're searching for it or that they came across it, even if they are watching it, and that kind of thing. And that's kind of almost similarly to how I feel about podcasting about these types of topics. It's like, most people I know aren't really going to tell me that they're listening to it. If they are, I've shared it with a lot of friends. I don't know if they listen. They probably might. They might not. I think most of them couldn't care less. A select few might, and then I think it's kind of like an educational approach. To me, that's kind Um, I don't know if that's really fully my intention, but in a way it kind of is. Um, like entertaining, educational, but kind of also, providing some form of representation for things that I don't really see out there too much. I don't really see a lot of sex positive stuff out there for the LGBT community. Like, it exists a little bit. Like, I feel like in the LGBT community, in a way, there is kind of a bit more freedom with things. So to that extent, I feel like it is a little bit, you know, in a sex positive way. Like when you go to Pride events and stuff like that, like usually, people dress how they want to dress, they talk how they want to talk, they do stuff that they want to do, and it's very, very like freeing for a lot of people to be able to kind of like present themselves, but it's in that space, that people feel comfortable presenting themselves as they do. Like, if every queer person walked around town the way that they walk around at Pride, first of all, that would be very helpful for those of us who are looking for other queer people to like interact with, because you would definitely be able to tell, like, oh, this person's got this on, or lack of this on, or whatever. And you can kind of tell what somebody's into based on the style that they choose to wear. Like, I don't know, this is probably a whole other topic, but it's like, there's certain clothing and accessory type styles of things, like harnesses and chaps and leather and, you know, stickies on, like those X's or stickies and things like that. Like, there's certain types of styles that are kind of like definitely from a certain type of culture. If it's not LGBT, it's from kind of more like a BDSM culture, and then like other kind of different cultures, subcultures of you call it subcultures of sexuality. I don't know what it's called, but those different types of subcultures, and yeah, there's a lot of those that I feel like sometimes, you know, people try to kind of like show kind of um like what they're into, what they're interested in, what they're trying to attract by kind of things that they wear, or that's kind of like an easy sign is like something that somebody's wearing. Like, if you kind of know the codes and signs of things, you kind of know what somebody's wearing signifies something about them sometimes, not always, but usually I think a lot of people are trying to get a certain point across. I don't know if I see that in straight culture a lot, but also I've never really thought about it too much. But yeah, so yeah, I would say that is kind of the experience that I've had with recording, with podcasting. It's kind of like, I mean, I'm clearly not keeping it like super hush hush, or else I wouldn't be like recording stuff and posting it on the internet. But, you know, there is some concern. Like, I do have my limits of what I will say and not say. I pretty much share what I'm comfortable with sharing. Like, you guys hear me stop myself every now and then. I'm like, I don't know if I really want to say that, because I'm just kind of like, I don't know, like that's a little cross the line for me. Now, if it was just like me sitting chatting with my friends, or like sitting chatting with some person that I'm trying to get to know or whatever, I would probably be more open to talking about a lot of stuff. But usually I'm not on the internet. But it's not necessarily. I wouldn't like. I try not to be like trying to promote shame or trying to promote like I know that I have some ideas that are maybe a little like maybe a little on the conservative end sometimes. To me, I feel like they are, but I don't know if they really are. But because I wouldn't consider myself a very conservative person, I think on the surface I seem pretty conservative. Um, but once you get to know me, I'm pretty open-minded. Especially about like if there's certain stuff I might not do or I might not partake in, but other people, I'm cool with them doing it. Like I've got friends who do pole dancing. I've got friends who are really into like sex parties and like friends who are really into all kinds of stuff that I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm like very often incorporating into my lifestyle. Like I respect it, I admire it, but I am over here doing my own thing, and to each their own. Like not everybody has to be um, a very sexually open person, but I think there is a risk that comes with it, because people might, you know, think you're some kind of weird pervert and be like uncomfortable around you, or it might limit some opportunities if people are judgmental. Like you might have somebody not want to hire you because of it, or you might have somebody not want to, talk to you because of it, or they have the opposite approach where they just only sexualize all the stuff that you have to do or say, and they just sexualize everything because they know that you're kind of maybe sexually different to some extent. Like I've definitely fallen into that struggle with some friends. Not anybody at the moment, but a while ago. Let's say it was like quite a long time ago. And again, like there's a fine line between like curiosity, asking questions, and just like overly sexualizing a person. Um, you know, just because they're queer or whatever. But I've definitely experienced that where it's like people who don't even know me are just like weird about certain stuff. Where I'm just like, why are they weird? Like, which is kind of it's kind of an interesting thing to experience too, because like people who know me, like I'm not really a flirty person. Like, I mean, I can be. I can kind of turn it on a little bit, but I prefer to just say what I actually mean, and like unless I know somebody likes me flirting with them and they want that, I probably won't do it. In all honesty, I don't just like do it just because. Like usually it's like unless somebody explicitly is like telling me that that's something that they really like, then and if I am into them or something and I want to flirt with them, then I will. But usually I'm not really flirting with people like that too much. Like, which is fine. I mean, it's fine if people are flirty. I just have my own ideas around flirtation that I don't really. The way I interpret it is like, I think it creates a lot of confusion because you're kind of like assuming that you're into somebody or assuming that you have some kind of like sexual interest or attraction to somebody, and you're trying to make it like known and make it a little like interesting and like sexy and fun for them, but then it's like, I think that can get a little bit confusing. So for me, like, unless, and people can do whatever they want, I'm not saying people have to do things the way I do them, but usually if I'm not interested in someone, I'm not gonna flirt with them at all. um like I'd say like very mildly every now and then, I'll throw out some like weird thing, but it's just I'll be a little playful. I can be a playful person, and I joke like a 12-year-old boy. Like I literally, you know, I don't know, when I'm in like a mood, I will literally like just I'm so immature. Like I'll be making poop jokes and everything. Like I don't even care. Like that's just how I am. Like I think it's funny. I have a fun time with it. Like I like playing with words. I like playing with ideas and just saying stupid things. And I like when other people think it's funny, and it's just like having these weird little inside jokes that are like really inappropriate, and like it's really funny for me. Um, to like start, I like starting some kind of weird like inside joke where people don't know what you're saying, and um like if they weren't there, like they had to be there basically. Like there's this there's I've talked about this before I think, but there's this experience where I was with some friends or something, and long story short, like there was a time where I think I was like sleeping or gonna sleep or something, and like part of my underwear was like sticking out because I took off my pants, and then like this whole I don't know what happened after that, and other people were taking off their pants a little bit, and I was like, what is going on here? And it's just kind of funny because it's like I'm not the most obvious person to be like, oh, like I'm just gonna take off my clothes. Like it's like I'm not the person that you would assume would do that. Like even when I go to the beach or like the pool or something, I'm usually like shorts and a t-shirt. Like I'm not running around in bikinis and all that kind of stuff. So it's like usually I'm quite clothed. Like of most people I know, I'm usually more clothed than most people. And so, I don't mind taking off my clothes, but it's just like I don't really have a lot of places where I'm going to do it. But usually if I'm sleeping, that's like the one place, and I'm like I'm not wearing what I don't want to wear. Like I'm just going to take this stuff off, and like especially cuz in that scenario, I wasn't planning to sleep over. Like it was like a friend group sleepover thing. Like we all ended up crashing at a friend's house, and I wasn't expecting to stay, but I was like, but I do want to drink, but I don't want to drive. And so, when they invited to stay over, I was like, cool, I'll stay. And they lived a lot closer to my job than I did, and they offered to give me a ride, and I could wear some of their clothes to work, and I was like, cool. And I was like, well, I've been wearing these clothes all day. I'm not gonna like sleep in them. Like to me, it's more of like a sanitary thing and more of like a comfort thing. It has nothing to do with too much else, but it's just kind of funny because it is kind of like a weird thing that like people know about me. People who know me like know that about me, that I don't always wear a lot of clothing when I'm trying to sleep. And by not a lot, usually it's like almost none. And so like I'm just like, we're just gonna all go to sleep, so it's not really like a big deal. To me it wasn't like a big deal, but it's just kind of one of those like funny little inside jokes where it's like, okay, like there's like some weird experience where like everybody had their pants off or whatever, and it was just like there were other people that were like, oh, like we can give you like sweats or whatever, and I'm just like, well, they've already seen my underwear at this point. Like, what's the point in like covering it at this point? Like, I'm more comfortable without wearing pants, and so it was just kind of like funny. It was really funny. But just like little things like that are just kind of like, what is happening here? But it's not even like I know a lot of people that would be offended by that, or a lot of people that would be just like they take the story and turn it into some weird like thing and try to make it seem like some filthy thing. It's like, who cares? Who cares if I don't like sleep in my clothes? Like, is it really that big of a deal? But it's funny. It's a funny kind of thing. It's like a joke. um and I like having stupid little inside jokes with like that with people, and just doing like weird little things, but it's not like all the time. I'm not like always trying to have like a shock factor. And I was probably a little drunk too. Like, I don't remember fully, but I'm pretty sure I was. That wasn't like a sober decision. It wasn't like a fully sober decision, maybe. But maybe it was. Like, I mean, I intentionally did it. I wasn't like waking up in the morning and being like, oh, damn, like, I didn't remember taking off my clothes. Like, I took them off on purpose. But, um, I didn't think I was being as obvious about it. But I guess I was. But it's just kind of funny because like it wasn't like an expected thing, but it's just, I don't know, that kind of stuff just cracks me up, and I love it. And but it's kind of like, yeah, like I don't mind doing that kind of stuff or saying that kind of stuff, but it's like it's not with everybody. Like there's certain people that I'm just like, yeah, I know they're gonna take this and make it into some other like weird thing, like that was not the intention, you know. And like, I don't have a problem with people having like sexual ideas or thoughts or whatever. Like, I don't really think that's like a big deal, but sometimes it's kind of like how somebody says something, that's kind of like, I kind of sense like you know, it's because I'm not straight that somebody's approaching a certain situation in a certain weird way. It's like, because I see people sometimes, you know, I have a lot of straight friends, and I usually don't have any issues with them. Like 99.999% of the time, I don't have any issues with them. But I've had just like a couple issues on occasion, you know, way back. It was none of this was recent in any form, but like way back, where people were just sexualizing things just because I wasn't a straight person. It's like they'd want to go to gay bars all the time, and you know, talk about all kinds of like topics that were like, okay, like why do you need to know this about me? Like why do you want to know? Why do you need to know when the last time was I got laid? Like, how does that pertain to your life? You know, and if this is like somebody that I don't even really talk to like that, it's like somebody who's like not even really like I wouldn't say they're not a friend, but it's like it's somebody where it's like, okay, like you're not evenly asking people this. You're just only curious about what I do because of the queer stuff. Like you kind of want like an in, or like you kind of want to know like what's up. And I think it's just kind of like the way somebody might go about trying to get that information. It can be a little weird sometimes, but I get it, because it's like, yeah, you're different, and I'm usually like, well, yeah, I'll talk about anything. But then it's like, you know, it took a while, and you know, I was with another friend who kind of called out the situation once. That was like, why are you always like asking queer people all these kind of personal questions, and it's not appropriate, you know. And they kind of got the hint at that point, and they hadn't done it since. And this was like ages ago, but probably like 10 years ago or something. It's a really long time ago, but it's not like that never happens, you know. But it's kind of like weird when it happens, where it's like, oh. And I've noticed it happens more, you know, in like a coming out phase. Like it happens more when people know about you, like newly, when they know about your queerness, they start asking more odd stuff. Because it's like, well, you weren't asking me all these questions before, and now all of a sudden you want to know. So it's kind of like, and I don't really mind people asking, but it's just kind of like the way that it kind of starts coming up, where it's like all the time. It's like, is this literally all we're gonna talk about now? It's like, it's like whenever we hang out, you know, like it's just like 100,000 questions, you know. And especially like it's not a conversation going both ways. Like I'm not asking any questions, you know. Um, but some people are like that. That's just how it is, and I just try to avoid that kind of thing, you know, or the opposite of like people not wanting to be around you because they know you're an LGBT person, so they kind of take things in a different way, and like the way that you are around them, they kind of act weird, um, like because they suddenly just like forget how to act or something, and they just start acting really strangely. Um, that is something that happens too, like not just the asking questions, but just like acting really weird. Um, but yeah, I think sometimes it comes out of a nervousness, or just people not really knowing really how to have those interactions. Like, um, like, give me a minute. know. People and their dogs. Alright. Alright, well, I'm gonna get rolling because the schools are gonna start getting out fairly soon, and I do not want to be stuck in traffic. Yeah, sorry about the pause. There was another person walking dogs. You probably heard them yelling at their two beautiful dogs and saying let's go. But I don't know. Maybe I keep parking next to something where the dogs keep stopping. I don't really know what's going on, honestly. It's just weird. But yeah, so that's one of the topics I kind of wanted to address was kind of like what it's like to record. I don't mind it. I do have a little bit of reservations just because, you know, kind of like once you say something, you can't like unsay it. And, you know, like, I don't know, like, I'm pretty open-minded, but I'm very selectively open-minded. I guess I would say that. Like, I selectively share with people. Like the things I share on here are things that I'm comfortable that, like, even if there's certain people I wouldn't prefer to be listening to it, like, if they listen to it, you know, I'm not going to be like, oh, God, they listen to my podcast. But then there's a lot of stuff that I just wouldn't post. There's a lot of stuff that I wouldn't post. Just because there's stuff that I don't want maybe everybody to know, or I would rather just talk in person to certain friends or people that I trust and not everybody stumbling upon that information. I think that's fine. You know, I have every right to share or not share. I do worry about getting banned. That's an experience on the internet that I'm very familiar with posting queer relevant content, is getting banned. Like, I think anyone who has ever posted queer topics, or almost anyone, is probably used to getting banned. Because a lot of the stuff is like taboo topics. You're not really supposed to be openly speaking on it, and you're expected to construction. You're expected to have like some level of like shame or embarrassment or just hiding about it, like. And it's kind of interesting though, because I think there are some people online who have mentioned this too, that, you know, LGBT people, you know, we're not posting stuff that's so different from like straight people. Like, we're not. Like, the stuff that I've talked about is all over the internet in straight culture. Like, I'm not even like going into too much detail about stuff, and, you know, I'm at risk of stuff getting taken down or just the whole entire channel getting canceled, you know, just from saying something that's not even like wrong or incorrect. Like, I don't feel like I'm being racist. I mean, of course, like, people have their own opinions, you know, so there's definitely going to be stuff that, like, people aren't going to all think like me, and that's fine. Like, I'm fine with that. Like, I don't need everybody to be like, we need to all think the same and act the same and have the same opinions. Like, you know, like, I know that, like, there's some stuff that I say or some views that I have that aren't common. And a lot of it's based on my own experiences, or even lack of experiences, or experiences of, you know, just, you know, still trying to figure some stuff out. So I'm not going to be perfect with every single thing that I say. I'm not going to be, like, constantly politically correct. I'm not trying to like get some kind of like weird attention or anything, but when it comes to this type of content, it's not that easy to find. Like, I definitely fangirl over people, though. That's another topic that I don't really know how much detail I need to get into, because I haven't really switched up any of it as far as like stuff I've been coming across. Like, I've noticed Lexi Peters posting a lot more stuff, which I like. Like, for people who don't know, her identifies she, them, LGBT content creator, kind of like twink style tomboy lesbian-ish LGBT person. It's got a lot of mostly like dancing content, sex positivity content. She has a podcast, but there's not too many episodes, so I don't think she's like continuing to post. Damn, I'm gonna miss the light. I don't think she's continuing to post. But I don't know why I always come this way. This light sucks. I don't know if she's continuing to post, but if she is, that would be cool. But I think she's focused more on Instagram and dancing and OnlyFans. So that's kind of where I've come across her content. There's this episode of, it's like a newer episode, an episode I came across yesterday that's from the podcast Back to Your Story. I've never really heard of that podcast before, but I think it's because I follow content by Lane V. Rogers, who I had initially learned about from Helix Studios content, watching their interviews and all kind of stuff. So he's a queer content creator, mostly a porn star, adult entertainer type guy. I think his pronouns are he, him, bi. He's a bi guy. But mostly records, like, I think just like gay male sex content, to my knowledge. Goes by Blake Mitchell. But yeah, that podcast episode has like almost a 2-hour episode of him talking to the host kind of about his life. And that's kind of the most recent thing I came across that kind of got me back on this topic of like sex positivity concepts, because he, was talking about his kind of like journey into, doing the kind of work that he does, basically recording gay porn videos. And I think he's his own brand now, and has his own, I don't know if he works directly for a studio. Maybe he does. Like, I'm not too good at like continually following certain people's content, but there's certain people's stuff that I'm always looking for more. But I'm not saying I don't watch adult content. I'm just saying that I don't always watch it like necessarily like porn video type stuff. Like, I like interviews. Like, that's kind of more my style of, what I want to see. Is just like, I want to hear them talk and see what they have to say about stuff and hear about their lives and stuff like that, because I find it interesting. I like a lot of their perspectives. I like to hear about people's lifestyles and things like that, and especially when they have like a positive approach on something that I don't usually see too much. it's really cool to see um, somebody out there like that he's just like really positive and you know like I don't know, I consider him like one of those role model types. Like he's not like too young. Like I think he started when he was like 19 or something. But yeah, he kind of looks a little more mature now. And so he's definitely one of the people that I've kind of kept an eye out on. So those two, I would say Lexi Peters and Blake Mitchell, I've kept an eye out on their content lately, and it's pretty cool stuff. It's pretty cool to see people post stuff where it's like just stuff you don't see every day, stuff you don't hear every day. Open-minded approaches, very positive, and you know, it's like I don't know, like it's just such a weird concept to me because it's like sexuality is one of those things that like everybody pretty much has, for the most part, some ideas, some attraction to something, some kind of like interest. I mean, yeah, I know there are definitely asexual people who might have maybe a different style of interest of things, but I mean, just the idea that Western society is so like negative about someone having an attraction towards something or like an enjoyment of something, like it's almost seen as like bad or wrong. Like almost anything that can be seen as like something that has some aspect of like pleasure or enjoyment, Western society takes it and is like, you know, I mean, I do agree with the in moderation because almost anything can become addictive, but you know, definitely when it comes to sexuality, you know, we're not taught necessarily in moderation. Most of us are taught just don't do it unless you're straight, cis, and married. That's usually the idea that most of us get. And even if you are straight, cis, and married, you can only do it with the person you're married to forever and never venture outside of that or consider other things. And you're not supposed to get divorced, and you're not supposed to, there's just so many things you're not supposed to do. And it's like, well, what are you supposed to do? You know, it's like, what are you allowed to do? What is appropriate? Like, you're never really hearing those conversations. And it's so like, you know, it becomes like political, it becomes problematic, it becomes, you know, people consider certain things perverted, people aren't open-minded. Like, I think there's nothing wrong with being conservative and reserved in your own life, and like, you know, having like even like a religious lifestyle where you're conservative about how you dress, and even like head coverings and moderate style clothing and those types of things. I see nothing really wrong with it, but I do think that shame, like especially like extreme shame, is kind of not helpful for most people. Like if you follow Brene Brown's content, her content got super popular. I came across her stuff probably like 4 or 5 years ago ish, when I was doing this group where we were talking a lot about social skills and like psychosis and stuff like that, but it was mostly like social skills. And we started talking more about like topics about like fitting in and different things like that, and just like the concepts of shame and things like that. And people really liked that topic. Like it really resonated with a lot of clients. And then I started realizing, like, the more I looked at those topics, I was like, dang, this is like a big topic that comes up in so many things. There's so many areas that we're taught are wrong or terrible or bad. And it's like, but is it really? You know, is it really bad? Is it really wrong? Like, is it morally wrong? Like, it's not morally wrong to want to have sex with people. It's not morally wrong to, like, consume the content, I don't think. But, you know, people say that it's wrong, but it's kind of like, well, if there's some adult that's willingly posting their own content out there for people to see, and they want that, and you're paying to see it, just because it's enjoyable doesn't necessarily make it wrong. But people are kind of taught to have this shame of enjoyment, you know, like even like where I live, like even take food for example. It's like when you live in like Southern California or somewhere, it's like I've gone out, and I'm not judging people on if you want to eat salads or whatever, but like I've gone out with people, who are almost like ashamed to eat a burger in public, because they're like, it's not necessarily that because they're vegan or because they want to eat healthy. It's more like they'll only eat like carrot sticks or something in public, because they don't want to be seen as like eating a lot and like indulging in food and like enjoying, a nice meal, even if it's unhealthy. Like it's coming from a different place, right? And it's like, I'm not saying everybody needs to just eat fat foods and like fattening foods and unhealthy stuff, but it's like sometimes if that's what you want to eat, like damn, eat it, like it's kind of weird. Like I can't remember. Like I went on this date once, and I'm gonna end on this, but it was kind of funny. Like I went on this date once, and I can't remember who, like where. It was like a long time ago. And basically, I'm with this person, and like we'd never like gone out to eat before. Like we'd gone out and like done other stuff, but we never gone out for like dinner. And they were kind of waiting to. They mentioned this later. They're like, yeah, I was waiting to see what you were gonna order because like I was really hungry and I really wanted to eat, but like they didn't like to order a lot of food if somebody else was just ordering like like an appetizer of like a side salad and like a really light soup or something. They said that usually when they would go out with people, especially females, they would not order like food, and I ordered like a steak or a burger or like something that was like massive and dessert. I was like, dude, I've been waiting all day to like consume all these calories. Like, I'm not gonna not eat. Like, I'm freaking hungry, But it was just kind of funny because like that's not uncommon. I'm like, dude, like you go out for dinner or whatever, freaking eat what you want to eat. Like, I think it is fine to be like health conscious and just thinking about, okay, maybe I had too much to eat already today and it's the end of the day, this is my last meal, and I'm kind of like paying attention to what I eat. That's different than being like, oh, I don't want this person to see me like indulging in this meal out of like shame. And that's common. And it's like, if people do that with food, you could think how much more they do it with all kinds of other things that aren't even, it's like, dude, it's like one meal. You can't just be open about how you want to eat in front of people. It's like, damn, just like eat what you want to eat. But I don't know, like, okay, well, I got back to the house. It's sunny out. I'm not going to sit in the car in the sun. Schools are getting out in like 5 minutes. I got this cauliflower crust mushroom pizza that I have been wanting to eat, so I'm going to go freaking eat that thing, or half of it, because if I eat the whole thing, it's like, it's a lot of food. I want to eat a lot, but not like way overeat. I had a perfect bar around noon, but it's almost 3 now, so I'm going to have that pizza soon. I'm going to oven bake it, so I'm not going to have it this moment. I'm going to take some time to upload these episodes. Now I'll be back on here. I hope you guys are enjoying these recordings. I appreciate you guys listening. I don't really know how I feel about Spotify. I'm not trying to like shit on Spotify. I'm just saying I don't know, because it's pretty well known. I do have a little bit of there's a slight bit of anxiety in me about people finding out about this podcast more than they did before. I'm kind of noticing it, that people are finding out about it more, and I don't know where to go with that. Like, part of it, I'm like, oh, it's good. That's a good positive thing, because people want to hear this kind of content. But then another part of me is like, oh, Jesus, that means it might be getting recommended more to people that I know that I might not really be aware if I don't want them involved in knowing about this kind of stuff, or my opinions on certain things, or what I do in my day-to-day. Like, I don't post much on social media. I post on here. Like, I don't post. So it's kind of funny. It's like people are out and they're posting like on Instagram or whatever, and like I barely post on there. I'll just be like, look, like this gay thing came up the other day, and like I'll post it on here. So I don't usually post on other social media type stuff. And share it with like the people that I most immediately know who can find me. Like, I don't know who's finding me. Like, I can't see who subscribes or who is on here and who's listening. Like, of the people who told me that they listen, I'm like, cool, like, I don't mind. But then there's other people that I'm like, I don't know if they listen. But then sometimes I've come across people who I know who have mentioned something that I'm like, wait, I just recorded that in a podcast. And like, did they hear it? Like, but you know, so I'm kind of like, I don't know, man. Shout out if you're listening. If you like this content, I'm happy for you. I like this content, or else I wouldn't be posting it. I'm hungry, so I'm gonna go eat. All right, thanks for listening.